Welcome to In Her Voice, a podcast created for women who listen to and live by their deepest wisdom, their inner voice. This was made for you, the woman who feels pulled to more, to lead, to create, to dream, and to be a world changer. My name is Kelly Covert, and I am an inner voice coach. Join me here each week as we explore what it means to reach for your inspired potential, all while honoring your worthiness each and every day. Hello, this is Kelly, and you are listening to In Her Voice. I have a funny story to tell you. I have been trying to record this episode literally all day long. And the minute I sit down to do it, I get interrupted by a child or by a neighbor playing loud music or mowing their lawn. I mean, you name it. And the funny thing is those things don't last very long. But what happens is I lose my momentum. And that is literally what this episode is about, momentum. So I feel like the universe has given me all these opportunities today to practice what I preach or what I'm going to teach you about momentum. And is that a wonderful thing? I'm going to look at it as a wonderful thing because this podcast will get to you sooner or later. And that's really what I want to talk about in regards to momentum. So first of all, you know, I got this Facebook memory the other day, and it said something like, why am I super motivated to do some things and have no motivation to do others? Why can't motivation be universal? And it was from 2010. And I was like, oh, wow, this is so fascinating that I was struggling with this in 2010. And I haven't really thought about motivation lately, like in the past few years. But what I think about much more often than motivation is momentum. Because what I've learned about myself is that when I'm going, like when I'm already in motion, it's much easier for me to stay in motion. And when I am not in motion, I don't want to restart. And, you know, common sense would say, well, just once you're in motion, just keep going, keep going, keep going. And I looked up, actually, I was trying to find a quote about momentum to share on Instagram to go with this episode. And every quote that I found about momentum was like, just keep going. You just have to keep going. Just keep going. Just keep in motion. And that is not my experience when I am listening to my inner voice. When I'm listening and honoring the rhythms of my own flow and my own creativity, it's not like I must keep going. My inner voice clearly says to me, it's time to stop. And then it says it's time to start. Now, just because my inner voice is telling me to do this doesn't mean it's easy to get back into the momentum. And that's what I want to really talk about today. So if you are wanting to honor your rhythms, to honor your cycles that come and go and that ebb and flow, you also have to have a strategy for getting back into action, for creating that momentum again. Because if you stop, the momentum stops. And you know, you may be the type of person that once you start going, you can just keep going, keep going, keep going, and voila, you're there. I know that I'm not like that. I know that the women that I work with are not like that. The moms, the entrepreneur moms who come my way are not like that. And part of that is because there's a lot of stuff going on. It's hard to stay in that momentum when you're getting interrupted all the time, like what's happening with me today every time I sat down to record. And so how do we create a kinder strategy to create momentum and to really stick with the things that we say that we want to do, but also honor that ebb and flow. And this is so fascinating to me because I have not heard a lot of people talk about this. I hear a lot of talk around self-love, about taking rest, about resting. And I hear a lot of talk about keeping going. And we don't talk about how to move from one to the next. And to me, that's the more difficult part. I am getting better at resting. And the beauty of that is that I can listen to my body and I can heed it. I can obey what it's asking me to do. I mean, I don't really like that word obey, but you know what I mean, right? If my body is saying rest, I can more easily do that. And then when my body says go again, that's the harder part for me. And, this idea that we just keep going, like this hustle mentality, that does not cut it for me anymore. And when I see people preaching that, I understand the allure, right? Why bother? Why go through the trouble, actually, of having to start up again? So don't stop, because then you're just going to have to start up again. But what if you need to stop? What if that's actually required? What happens then? So let's talk about how to get back into the momentum. And this is something I'm still working through. Clearly, it's now 5:51 p.m. and it's taken me multiple times of sitting down in front of my microphone today to get this recorded for you. But I believe, as all things that I teach you, that this is a practice. And as you practice it, you also get better at it and it becomes easier. And also remember that there is so much grace built in. Perfection is not required for practice. It's not. And not only is it not required, it's not possible, right? So let's take perfection off the table and talk about what it can look like to create new momentum. So, the first thing, and this seems so simple, this is such a simple step to understand, yet often challenging to implement. That is, it's really important when you want to get back into the flow, when you want to create momentum going forward, to actually start something. So whatever that is, whether it's a habit, a kinder habit that you want to be implementing, maybe it's drinking a certain amount of water every day, or getting a certain kind of movement in every day. And maybe it's about posting on your social media every day. For the entrepreneur moms that I work with, this is a huge sticky place, right? Because they know they want to be on social media, they want to be connecting, but it feels often like a chore. So it's hard to find the momentum and to keep going, right? So just starting is the first step. And I really suggest making that first step a small one. So oftentimes for me, that just means moving. If I am feeling like I don't have momentum, usually I'm on the couch or I'm sitting somewhere. I'm in stillness. And so for me, that means just like getting up and going to a different place or walking around. It can be as simple as that. You may have heard of Mel Robbins. She is an author and inspirational speaker, and she has written a lot of books, but one of the things that she talks about is her, and I think I'm not getting the name of it right, but it's called her 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Essentially, whenever it's time to do something, you give yourself a countdown. And then when you get to 1, you do it. And I like this because it sort of gives you that buffer. It gives you that space to prepare mentally to do it. So if that's something that works for you, do that. Maybe it's just getting up and moving your body around the house. I'm not saying like go exercise, just around the house. Maybe it's writing down the one thing that you want to do today just to get started. Just that one tiny baby step. Step 2 is keeping it going with repetition. And this is where we can get stuck a little bit in sort of that streak mentality or the hustle mentality, right? You just have to keep it going. You just have to keep it going. Well, that's kind of true. I think that ultimately we want momentum that takes us from day to day in whatever the thing is that we're working on. Let's just keep it at social media, right? Like I want to post every weekday on my social media accounts, on my Instagram. It's really important for me to show up in stories and connect with you every single day. And so I want to keep that momentum up. However, and here's where it gets sticky. So we want to repeat, we want to repeat, we want to repeat. But if you're listening to your inner voice, you have to understand that there will be days where your inner voice asks you to stop. Now, here's the juicy part, right? Here it is. When you are asked to stop, honor it, and then you must trust. You gotta trust yourself that you'll be able to go back to step 1 when it's time to start again. And this trusting piece is the hardest one. I think that when we get into that keep going hustle mentality, what we're really saying to ourselves is, I don't trust myself enough to start again if I stop. But what would happen if you did? What would happen if you started practicing trust, that self-trust that's so important for every single part of our life? What if you trusted yourself enough to be able to stop, to be able to rest? And then you go back to the beginning again. And I think part of it too is understanding that that is the natural cycle. We were not made to go and go and go and go and go and never stop. We were not made for that. We were made to wake and to rest and to wake and to rest. And I'm not just talking about sleeping at night, right? You know what I'm talking about, this idea of momentum. Another great example is in exercise. So you all know that I have a Peloton. I love my Peloton bike so much. And one of the things that it does is it keeps track of your streak. So like how many days in a row you have done something on the Peloton. Like it can, like anything counts, like yoga, meditation, doing a ride, doing a strength, doing a stretch, whatever. It all counts, quote unquote counts, which that's a whole other podcast that we should have sometime. But you know, it keeps a streak going and it tells you, oh, today you've done 30 days in a row. Today you've done 45 days in a row. And I got caught up in that last December, and I had done like 60 days in a row. And then, you know, one day I was just really tired. And I didn't feel like I needed to work out that day. I didn't feel like I wanted to turn my Peloton on that day. But I was like, oh no, I'm going to break my streak. I'm going to lose what I've built. And it's that losing mentality that keeps us from listening, that keeps us from trusting ourselves. We have to be willing to trust. So the steps: start small, start something, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever that looks like. 2, keep it going with repetition. 3, listen to your inner voice when it asks you to stop. 4, trust yourself enough that you know you can start again. And then repeat. And know that you haven't lost anything. Nothing is gone. You've only gained trusting yourself. You've only gained that. I know this works. This is a practice that I employ in my life. This is a practice that I teach my clients how to use. I dare you to try it. I dare you to trust yourself enough to be able to stop and know that you can start again. And here's the thing. Sometimes you need help. Sometimes you need accountability. Sometimes you need some structure in order to be able to do that. And there is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with honoring your needs. There's nothing wrong with you if you need that. So if you find yourself struggling with that accountability piece or struggling to take action, I would love to help you with that. We can start with an idea hour, and I can help you create that plan of action. And then you start, you keep it going, and you trust. If you need that kind of support, honor that. Give it to yourself. If not with me, with somebody else. But if an idea hour sounds like something that would really be a gift to you, that would help you start trusting yourself to pick that momentum back up, then you can go to my website and check it out, kellycovert.com/ideas. And you can book yourself in. There is nothing that I would love more than helping you learn how to trust yourself. And this is one of the ways that you can do that. Remember, when you trust yourself, you are saying to yourself, I am enough. I've got you. You can do this. You are worthy.